Hello, buds. So you've picked up the hit game Don't Starve Together. Well, unfortunately, unlike a lot of other games, Don't Starve Together doesn't exactly hold your hand throughout the journey. But that's okay, because part of the journey is trial and error. But some people just don't like that. They'd rather not waste their time learning the ins and outs of a game and then losing potentially hours of their progress. Well, if you're one of those people, there's no shame. I get it. That's why I made this video. Today we're going to talk about some of the most detrimental mistakes that you can make as a beginner so you can learn what you need to avoid and what you can do to make yourself a better Don't Starver. Now this video is going to assume that you at least have a basic understanding of the game, like, darkness is lethal and you gotta eat to not starve. These are going to be mistakes that can very easily slip through the cracks of basic game knowledge detection and could slowly kill a playthrough. Starting with mistake number 1, it's overstocking food. Yes, food is important in this game, it's literally the title, but spoilage doesn't work like, say, Ark Survival, where only one thing spoils at a time. In Don't Starve Together, the entire stack will spoil at the same time. Yeah, how uncompromising. This can lead to hunger becoming an actual issue, as new players will vacuum up every carrot, berry, and other natural food source on the map, and be surprised when there's no more easy food by day 13, when it's all a gray congealed mass. Instead, you should only take what you feel you and your team, if applicable, are going to need. And remember that food takes some time to regrow. Skipping that berry bush isn't going to ruin your chances of survival. Instead, think of it like investing in your future. Berries do regrow relatively fast, so it's not as harmful to pick them over like carrots or the other ones, but just don't go vacuuming up every single berry bush, especially a few days before winter, because they will actually remain 100% fresh on the bush until you pick them, which includes during winter, when you would most likely need it as a new, inexperienced player. Now, if you're hungry, or you plan on using them in the near future, by all means, go grab that food, that's what you gotta do. But if you're stockpiling food, even in an ice box, 9 times out of 10 it's going to become rot before you can use it. Spoilage times are pretty insane in this game. Yes, maybe some of you actually want that rot, but I'll cover a much better source of rot than wasting all of that potential food soon, trust me. Mistake number 2, not fully utilizing your chest slot. Yeah, this one will probably call out some more experienced players. I myself am guilty of this mistake, because here's what an average player will do. They'll beeline getting a science machine, craft themselves a backpack, which is fine, but then the problem shows up as they proceed to keep that backpack snug on their back for the entirety of their playthrough. Yeah, this is a huge mistake, and one that can cost new players their lives. Now, I'm not saying that backpacks are F-tier awful items that should be cast out of the meta. No, they're great, but you have to learn to let go sometimes for important events. I want to make it clear that you don't have to give up backpacks to fix this mistake. That's a horrible idea, because backpacks are very powerful tools, and I'm certainly never giving them up myself. But all you simply have to do is understand when it's time to swap. As a new player, I would suggest you carry around a log suit in your inventory. These are identical to football helmets, but are 90 times more renewable, as they only cost grass and logs. When it's time to go into combat, simply swap to your suit and get to work. This will condition you for future fights where you may even want to double up on armor. It's true that armor stacking doesn't exist in Don't Starve Together, but durability stacking does, and more armor health means you can stay in the fight to potentially learn patterns way more. That didn't really make sense, but you get it. This also segues us into the next mistake that I see a lot of players doing. And that mistake, my friends, is mismanaging your inventory. Don't Starve Together is a survival game at its core, and like all survival games, there's a lot of items. And when there's a lot of items, you're gonna have to micromanage it, or it will come to bite you when you need it the most.
Wait, where's my lantern? Where is my lantern? What? What?
There is a very simple way to fix this though, and it's to organize as you progress through the game. Learn what parts of your hotbar you want to put what in and stick with it. There's no right or wrong for this, but me personally, I like to keep my resources to the left, and my tools or equipment to the right, and food near the center. When it's not in my beard, that is, because, yeah, Wilson supremacy and all that. But again, there is no right or wrong way to do this. Just make sure that it's recognizable to you and won't get you stuck in dicey situations where you have to swap, but can't find where what everything is fast enough. You know what? Speaking of lanterns, mistake number 4 is being scared of the caves, and by extension, the ruins. A lot of players will understandably see the caves as these evil pits of doom and despair. They hear all of the horror stories of players diving into the ruins and getting shot to death by balls of plasma, or whatever it is that bishops shoot at you, that never miss for some reason. But the grand majority of the cave system is actually mostly tame. Yes, that includes a majority of the ruins. The ruins proper, basically the place where the nightmare cycle is in effect, is where you'll find all the scary stuff, and that's an outlier in the grand scheme of things. Matter of fact, going to the caves in your first few days is an excellent way to acquire light bulbs, while also preparing yourself for the ruins proper when you feel up to it, of course. Light bulbs are one of the best things to ever exist in Don't Starve Together, and you'll very quickly come to love them. Need rot? Well, head down to the muddy biome, grab yourself a few stacks, and let them rot. You'll get more than you need, and you waste no food doing so. You want manure? Do the same thing, but this time feed a pig 4 monster meat, drop the light bulbs, and watch that boy get to work. And not to mention, light bulbs both are required to craft and refuel the light source which will carry you into late game, the lantern. No longer will you have to keep a stack of grass and twigs in your inventory, just have one of these bad boys and you can, by average, last like probably 4 to 6 nights without needing a single recharge. Give or take, seasonal differences and all. But either way, you should not be scared of the caves. Light bulbs are great and you need them. Mistake number 5 is sort of a new mistake, and that is using rabbits as a food source. Look, we've all been there. You recently learned that traps exist, and now you're rightfully assuming that this new tool will be a wonderful passive source of meat. Well, like I said, prior to the Rabbit King update, you would be right. It was a mediocre but overall completely passive and harmless meat source. Now, killing one too many rabbits will reward you with one of the most annoying boss fights in the entire game. That's almost certain to swarm and defeat any new inexperienced player. Now you might be wondering, wait, how am I supposed to get my protein then? Well, that's simple. A much better and more available source of protein can be obtained from a crockpot and a spider den. Simply aggro the spiders, lead them far away, and defeat them like so. This will reward you with monster meat, and if you do it a lot, you'll get a lot of monster meat. This can be combined with 3 edible filler items in the crockpot to get your hands on meatballs. A dish that's been touted as one of the absolute best dishes since Don't Starve was a little baby game. But you know what? Speaking of crockpots, we've got to talk about a mistake that can very insidiously and slowly drain you of resources by using this thing. And that, my friends, is value wastage. Crockpots are great, and most of the time, you can very easily turn a value profit from them. Whether it's making poisonous food edible or making non-healing food heal for a lot, but many players automatically assume everything they throw into a crockpot is good. And that's not only wrong, but it could lead to immense value wastage over the course of a playthrough. Sometimes, raw ingredients are truly better. Let's take this meatball recipe for example. 1 big meat and 3 carrots. Most players will look at this and reasonably think, oh hey, this is worth it. But let's take a closer look at their values. Carrots provide 12.5 hunger each and up to 3 health per when cooked, while meat provides 25 hunger and up to 3 health when cooked. This recipe results in a net loss of 9 health and no hunger gain. You do get 5 sanity, but that's minuscule. This recipe is a time waster through and through. While this is just a time waster, some recipes can even result in a net negative hunger value. For example, look at this recipe for stuffed eggplant. It results in not only negative health, but also a huge hunger loss. That's over 50% of its original hunger value completely lost. But, you get 5 sanity, so there's that. When you are making a recipe, you should always be trying your best to put the lowest stat foods, or better, poisonous foods, into the dish to get the absolute most stat value. For example, 1 monster meat and 3 red caps also makes meatballs, and while looking at the hunger value only may make it seem like a marginally useful dish, when you look at the health difference, yeah, a dish that would normally drain 80 health now provides 3 health. That's good value. Just remember that punishment dishes exist. Don't put 2 or more monster meat, or if you somehow have them, durians. Otherwise, you'll make monster lasagna, which should be disposed of by your local Weber main humanely. Mistake number 7 refers to something you would do very early game, and thankfully I don't see this mistake happen that often, but it's still enough that I feel I need to mention it. And that is using campfires for light in your first few days. I mean, I get it, it's survival game 101. The campfire is supposed to be better than the torch. But in Don't Starve Together, sitting basically AFK through your first few nights can cost you quite a bit of time. And if you're new and barely know how to handle winter, you're gonna want to make the most of your time in the calm season of autumn. Instead of placing down a campfire to AFK through the night, make yourself a torch. 1 torch will generally last you 1 entire night and some change. Even more so if you juggle it, which is unequipping the torch, waiting until you hear Charlie's attack sound, and re-equipping it to delay the attack timer. Though I wouldn't recommend this for new players, not because of the immense sanity drain, but rather because it can be difficult to navigate when you don't understand the terrain and your screen looks like this. Not to mention, torches only cost 2 grass and 2 twigs, so I promise you don't have to min-max light in this game. Use juggling only as a last resort. Don't copy pros. Since we talked about sanity, I guess we should talk about a sanity-related mistake. Many new players are completely afraid of going insane. At the risk of sounding like a certain edgier YouTuber, being insane is not as bad as you would assume. Yes, creatures are going to materialize, and yes, they are going to try to kill you. But you don't have to constantly be yoinking flowers out of the ground and chugging cooked green caps in fear that they are going to pose a massive existential threat to you. In fact, it can be beneficial to go insane, as that is one of the only sources of nightmare fuel, a very important crafting recipe and fuel for the best light in the game, the nightlight. For legal reasons, this is a joke. Don't ever make this stupid thing. But yeah, nightmare fuel is good. When you go insane, there are only 2 creatures that will come and attack you. This weird fuzzy beetle-looking creature known as the Crawling Horror is the first that you will probably see. And it's also the easiest to defeat, because these guys only deal 20 damage per hit, which will get reduced to a mere 4 damage if you're wearing a log suit or football helmet, which you absolutely should be. To kite them, you can either take the safer but slower method of letting them hit, dodging, and then going in for a hit, or you can hit first, dodge, and go for another hit for double the DPS. Terror Beaks are a little scarier, I won't lie, but using the same method as Crawling Horrors, you can handle even double Terror Beak attacks without taking a single hit. And again, if you're too scared to do the first hit method, don't do it. Baiting out a hit and then going in is slower, but absolutely safer, and I myself do it plenty of times. Terror Beaks do hit much harder, dealing 50 damage without armor and 10 damage with armor, so be a little more careful, but don't be afraid. This is Don't Starve. You are going to go insane. The sooner you learn how to handle it, the longer you will survive. And those 2 mobs are literally the only existential threat of being fully insane. After you've conquered your own mind, you can save those sanity restoring measures for boss fights when they really matter. Because boss fights are when nightmare creatures can actually get scary. Despite all of this, don't forget that you have to die. It's inevitable. I mean, both in the real world and in Don't Starve Together. But it will come much sooner in Don't Starve Together. Hopefully. A big mistake new players will make after they croak, though, is instantly reviving without checking what the conditions look like, which can cause a snowball effect. That meat effigy at your base? Yeah, if you revive at night, there's going to be no light and you're going to quickly see your ghostified character once again. Same goes for those touchstones. The cave touchstones are the most notorious for this. If you're playing on default settings, you have quite a bit of time before the world will reset and you will lose everything. Use that time if you can to wait for day, because you don't want to be caught in a snowball of death. And if you can, prepare some emergency tools in your touchstones so you don't get insta-killed by the seasonal effects. Don't place chests too close though, because the revive lightning may catch it on fire. Oh yeah, and as a sort of bonus to this tip, since it, refers to revival and all that, if you get to the point where you have life-giving amulets, which kudos to you, they do take quite a bit of time to get to, carry it in your main inventory, not your backpack. This is a rookie mistake I've seen countless times. The life-giving amulet is one of the best revive options since it's mobile and can be used by haunting it. But if it's in your backpack, you're not going to be able to use it. So good luck finding the closest touchstone. Dying of seasonal issues is widely regarded as one of the easier hurdles to overcome in Don't Starve Together. Many of the seasons have been nerfed from the Reign of Giants days, but a lot of new players simply make the mistake of being, underprepared. You don't have to over-prepare for the seasons by any means, but under-preparing will cause you to fall pretty quick. So if you want to fix this mistake and learn how to conquer each season's main issue, here's what you can do. For winter, freezing can be delayed by 2 things: insulation and thermal stones. If you're not playing as Wilson, step 1 is to start playing as Wilson for his beard. Okay, fine. You don't have to. Insulation, however, is surprisingly powerful for keeping yourself warm. A beefalo hat, for example, will give you almost an entire day of warmth after spending a decent amount of time near a fire. Or on the flip side, if you want something more tangible, you can use a thermal stone. These do have durability, same as the clothing, but can be better for new players as they show your current temp via the color of the stone. So when it turns yellow, you know it's time to reheat. And if you can heat up before the stone turns gray, you'll avoid the durability loss entirely, making thermal stones a more community-loved favorite. A great emergency warmth source is to burn lone trees with a torch. Just be careful because, fire spreads. Spring is just Autumn 2.0, except that it also comes with the teensy tiny problem of more storms. By now you should absolutely have a lightning rod. That is essential for surviving spring. If you don't have a lightning rod, your base just became temporary. Also, if for some reason you get a frog rain, which is likely during spring, don't panic too much. Frog rain has been nerfed in Don't Starve Together over its predecessor, Reign of Giants. So all you have to do is wait for the frog rain to be over, walk a few screens away, and the frogs will all despawn. You can even use it to your advantage to take out a moose goose, as frogs are surprisingly powerful against her. And finally, summer. You have two options here. Either you move to the caves for the summer, which will nullify summer completely, save for Antlion's occasional little earthquakes, or you get yourself a watering can and a thermal stone and a torch. The watering can not only is great for controlling wildfires, it can also be used to nearly cool your thermal stone to max cold value. All you gotta do is burn something, drop your thermal stone next to it, and then hold the use button for the watering can on the burning object. If you do it right, you'll continue watering the burning object even though it's been extinguished, which will cool your stone, giving you a stress-free summer. These fast tips should allow you to navigate the 3 hostile seasons with ease, and you shouldn't find yourself underprepared anymore. Mistake number 11, not leaving a like on this video and subscribing if you haven't already. Look, I had to do it. Hey, it's free, and it helps me out a ton to make more content like this for all of you. So it would be a mistake not to. The next few mistakes are going to be related to items which are dubbed noob traps, or items that bait inexperienced players to have a more uncompromising experience. So we'll probably be breezing through these next few ones. However, I'll also be explaining why these items, tools, or weapons aren't good, so it just doesn't become a list, because that would be boring. Crafting the fencing sword is something that, on paper, seems like a good idea. I mean, it's progression 101. If the item costs a weapon to make, it generally is better than that weapon. And the fencing spear cost a whole spear to make. But the unfortunate truth is that this weapon is 100% pure buns. It does the same damage as the spear, but it has this really annoying attack animation that makes it like 1,000 times slower. The fact that it's in the weapons tab in general is a huge troll by Clay themselves, because seriously, I'm not sure what they were thinking. It should be in the tools tab, as it does have a use for rotating certain structures, but for combat, it's awful. Stick to the spear, or better, just use an axe if you're really trying to budget. Sometimes on your journeys, you may find something called a recipe card. On it will be a recipe for a random crockpot dish, and never, I mean ever, trust the recipes that these cards give you. Yes, the recipes are accurate for the dishes they represent, but like we went over earlier, the recipes can be very harmful, or not provide any value whatsoever. I mean, look at these. A simple wiki search of the food values would show you that they are either not worth it, or actually may be harmful. So it's best to ignore recipe cards entirely or convert them to papyrus using the cartography table. As much as I hate to say it, yes, walls are a huge noob trap. Because when a new player sees that you can build walls, they may, rightfully, assume that those walls will keep enemies out. However, the only enemies that you really have to ever worry about coming to you and your base are hounds and bosses. Hounds will simply path around or break the walls surprisingly fast. And bosses, well, that one's obvious. Treat walls as purely decorational because defensively, they may as well not even exist. And man, I feel so bad for you if you made dual sight walls or dreadstone walls. Those things have got to be like the top 2 scams in all of Don't Starve. Right under the weapons trader from Hamlet. That guy's a true scam artist. And finally, this is going to be my longest one, and it's probably going to be my hottest take out of all of this video, so just get ready. The piggyback. Hear me out. Yes, if you're playing as Wolfgang, are planning to be on a beefalo 90% of your playthrough, or are planning on playing Woody and spending over half your game as wereforms, then this doesn't apply to you. Go ahead and make the piggyback, it's fine, since all of those playstyles remove the slowdown penalty. But otherwise, I should never ever see you using this awful thing. Now, I know what you may be thinking, but the speed penalty is so low, and you get 4 whole extra slots. That's value if I've ever seen it. Wrong. Dude, this is Don't Starve Together. You know, the game with the ridiculously large map and little to no way to fast travel. If you want to go somewhere, you're usually walking. 10% movement speed isn't going to absolutely destroy you, but 10% is 10%. that means you'll arrive 10% slower. And don't even get me started on those of you who insist that a walking cane cancels the piggyback out. So it's okay. Yes, it cancels out the piggyback, but do you know what else it does? It cancels 10% of the walking cane out, making it a measly, pathetic 15% speed boost instead of 25%. I promise, you will live without the 4 extra slots. Go farm Krampus if you truly must have those extra slots. Some of you genuinely have to learn how to stop hoarding items anyway. Alright. I'm sorry, that was a bit too mean, especially coming from someone who uses his base floor as his storage. I apologize, guys. I just really don't like the piggyback, okay? It's... why I hate slowdown effects. They suck. Look, at the end of the day, you're not gonna ruin your playthrough by using a piggyback, alright? But it's gonna make you slower, and you're not gonna enjoy the game as much. Just don't make it. Alright, how many was that? Oh, 15. Okay, well, there you have it. 15 mistakes to avoid in Don't Starve Together. I tried to avoid some of the more controversial ones that I don't truly believe in, like spears being useless. I don't think that. Yes, they suck in the grand scheme of things, and axes basically do the same damage, but spears are so cheap that it almost makes that one less hit you get on most mobs worth it. Or that the garland is useless. Yes, the garland is useless, but for a new player who's trying to learn the game from scratch, the garland does delay insanity long enough for them to get acclimated, so I mean it absolutely has a purpose, it's just not a good one. But either way, I've gone over my talking time. This has been Polarlotus. Don't make the mistake of not subscribing and ringing that bell and liking the video and checking out my second channel and doing everything that, helps me for free. I like it. Okay, I'm gone for real this time. See ya, everyone. Bye-bye.